Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata. I'm a concept artist, illustrator, online art teacher, and former instructor at Art Center College of Design. I would like to introduce you to my new drawing course, Form from Imagination, a course designed to help you draw with confidence from your mind. Maybe you want to be a professional illustrator or designer, maybe you want to be a master with a pencil, or maybe you just want to be the best artist that you can be. Beautiful goals. But it's not always clear how to improve the work that you do from imagination. Over the past 6 months, I've taken all of the little eurekas, tips, and essential exercises that gave me confidence drawing from my mind and compiled them into a sequential course. We start with the absolute foundations, covering the scientific nature of light and shadow, how to hatch, how to create flat tones, how to render spheres and cubes, and step by step, we move through combined shapes, complex shapes, organic shapes. We cover how to simplify extremely complex subjects like the head into basic shapes so that you can handle them more easily from your head. We look at how to understand and treat details. And by the end of these 14 chapters with over 50 video lessons, you'll be ready to do complex designs from your mind with fidelity and energy. And all the demos are done in pencil on paper, so you can do all of the assignments even if you don't have a fancy digital art setup. But I also have demos, instructions, and modifications to the assignments for those who do want to do them digitally. Here's how it works. Go to formfromimagination.com and sign up for the course. Download the assignment book and start watching the lectures. Do the assignments at your own pace. Take your time with them and use this self-study to develop your patience. When you're done, post your assignments in the exclusive community hub, and I'll personally critique your work with drawovers, diagrams, and advice. I want you to know, this course is no joke just because it's online. It is challenging content, and it is more complete than it would be if I was teaching this class at an art college as I have before. If I was teaching this class in person at Art Center today, I would just play these videos in class, knowing full well that they're the most concise, focused, edited, step-by-step way to convey the material. So I'm serious when I say, this course isn't just a substitute for a college-level course, it's better than a college-level course. And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars per credit and wind up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So thank you for checking out the course, thank you for watching this and for your support, and thank you for drawing and making your artwork. The world needs it. I'll see you soon.
What up? What up? I'm sorry, I have to check my audio levels, so I have to do that. This is me talking normal. 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 I'm a normal person. Everybody agrees with that. Everybody that I've ever met has always said, Steven is so normal. Steven is so normal. I'm a normal person. This is me talking. This is me chanting. To fix my white balance too. White balance on my camera is messed up. Hello to Neon Beast. Hello to Dino Blaster. Dino Blaster. Dino Blaster, it's the Dino Blaster. Dino Blaster. Dino Blaster, traveling through time and space. Sexy secret special agent. Dino Blaster. Let me see, I gotta push this way, that away. No, that doesn't look, that looks right. That's what I look like. That looks like me. Seems correct. I think that's probably, oh, but that's messing up my green screen. Let's leave that there. Apologies that I'm doing tech stuff live. Let me put this down and then put this back up. And sometimes that fixes the green screen, and it did. Great. Hello to Vyacheslav Yermakovs. Hello to Sansaya. Hello to Layla Wahab. Hello to Lak Asilam. Hello to Felipe, Colin Gallagher, and Thomas Tony. Don't forget Disc Breaker, Sen, Goldie Roger, and Projbacorp. Happy Sunday. You're all the rare kind of Sunday crew, people who will actually draw on Sunday. Most human beings will resist drawing on Sunday. They'll say, what? It's not the right day to draw. I'll have the tea bag in my damn cup. Now it's soaking everything. There's just no way to win, folks. There is just no way to win. Hello, Joximus. Oh, hello, Jenny Craddock. Hello, Felipe. Hello, Guillermo Anjos, who says, hey, Stephen, hello. Quick question. Is George Bridgman's book, Constructive Anatomy, a good resource to learn anatomy? How would you use it in your personal studies? Any thoughts? I don't think it's a good resource for anatomy. It's a good resource for draftsmanship. I think that's what George Bridgman is good at teaching and what his books actually focus on. They focus on how to arrange the masses of muscles in an interesting way and simplifying those masses in such a way that you have some hope of drawing them from your imagination. But I don't think they teach anatomy. Not at all. Not very well. I think if you want to learn anatomy, and in this case, by anatomy, I mean like the medical knowledge of anatomy, the part of drawing figures that overlaps with being a doctor. The overlap is light there. Doctors know much more, but just when it comes to surface anatomy, the names of muscles, origin and insertion, I think the books that are more like textbooks, more dry, more clinical, tend to be better. So those are books like Human Anatomy for Artists by Elliot Goldfinger. Elliot Goldfinger's anatomy books. I forget what the actual name is. They're all of them are fighting for market space with the same 4 words jumbled around: Human Anatomy Artist, or the same 3 words. So I forget what Elliot Goldfinger's is, but that one, or the classic Paul Reicher's Artistic Anatomy. Just really clean diagrams, simple, straightforward, nothing fancy. I think those are the best for learning anatomy strictly construed. Just what sits where, what is it attached to, etc., etc. Hello to Arctic Monkey. This is a rare Sunday reunion. Yeah, I owed you one. I missed Thursday. Missed Thursday. Had AI stuff come up through my schedule. Dude, where is my ruler? It's hot here today. I haven't gotten the AC for the studio yet, so the fan is on, so apologies if you guys hear a super disturbing fan noise that just will not let you relax. Really strong apologies from me. I know it's completely overwhelming and doesn't let you concentrate. There's really no excuse. I'm just lacking in professionalism or something like that. Lack Asylum says, Stephen, you are the gleam of light which has flashed across my mind from within, outshining more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. Well, Lack Asylum, I'm very happy to be in cosmic communion with you, and I hope it helps. Somehow. I haven't worked on this one in a bit. Where the hell was I? Dino Blaster. Will you be streaming regularly now? Yes. Yes. Oh, I see how we're starting out. It's going to be a session of figuring out which pens are dry, huh? I see how it is.
A reminder for anyone considering buying form from Imagination, I am planning on putting out a no feedback version at a reduced price early next month. So let that factor in for you. Let that factor into your purchase decisions. But if you already know you want feedback, nothing to worry about. You go right ahead and get the feedback version. Patrick Kirby says, you shouldn't draw big muscular men if you're not one. Sounds like a prison of your own making, dog. There's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't play basketball. Free your mind and the rest will follow. Free your mind and the rest will follow. Guillermo Anjos says, you are the best. How much the course will be without feedback? By the way, have you ever considered in holding an art contest where the winner gets your course for free? I have considered stuff like that. I just need the time to run a contest like that and to appropriately judge it. But yeah, I've considered stuff like that. I have an idea right now for what it will cost, but I am not saying it just yet because I still have to check that will work. So I will let you know soon. But it will be significantly reduced because a big part of the price of the course is that I give feedback on everything, you know. What are you drawing? Says Sensia. This is a big piece that I started for an event that we did in Washington, D.C. when we were advocating for artists' rights and protections. It's a bunch of knights and wizards taking out a bunch of robots. Random. I don't see what would have made me draw that. Just random. Totally random. It's called Gatekeepers. Again, just random. No idea. Definitely doesn't mean anything. Not my usual pencil stuff. I decided to do it in ink because it was meant to be worked on at a live event. So obviously an ink line is more likely to be seen when you're drawing it live. When you're in a room with people and they're some distance away from the drawing, it's much easier to see an ink line go down than it is to see a pencil line go down. So it seemed obvious to me that ink was the way to go for this one. Any similarities to reality is but a coincidence. It's but a coincidence. It's but a coincidence. Ah, crap. Internet issues today. I'm seeing my connection is spotty. So apologies, anyone, if we get an issue here. Whoa, I just completely dropped out.
Am I still live? And now I'm back. Let me fuck with something here. Lack Assam says, Steven, what did you mean about there's no good nor bad taste, only taste? Just that all there really is your preferences. People love to argue about that. Dude, people take that so personal. God, people will fight to the death to try to prove that there is objectively better art and objectively worse art. Love them, got a lot of compassion for them. I get where they're coming from. I just have never been able to agree with their position. It seems utterly indefensible to me. I just don't see how you could think that. I just don't see how you could think that. There's specific games you can play, of course. But to say some work is objectively better than other is just... That's all you're doing, it's a game. You're conspiring with the other actors behind the scenes in the green room, saying, all right, here's what we're going to pretend is true for this one. And you're performing it on the stage. Only my sandwiches are good, yeah. Did my connection even out? Am I okay now? Am I still bad? I turned off a light, which I superstitiously believe makes a difference sometimes. Hold on, I gotta fix my green screen too. That looks like it fixed it. Muscular Man Beast equals Gladiator. I forgot I had that as the title. I had set that earlier, and then I got distracted, and then I came back to sit down to start stream, and I changed my mind. I was like, I'm going to work on this. But because I originally thought I was going to work on... this more. And we might. I might get bored of inking, and I'll go to doing back to that. The titles don't matter. Nobody even cares. Nobody's here to see a particular kind of drawing. Is there better or worse craft? Like, is there better and worse in terms of getting a specific thing done? Only within a particular view. And within that view, it's totally legitimate to make assessments like that, but not in some ultimate sense, you know? Like many of the Impressionists thought that Bouguereau's addiction to glassing his surface was literally holding him back and making him a worse artist. So to them, what we would consider to be sterling craftsmanship was literally bad craftsmanship, because it was making him a worse artist. So there's that famous set of correspondences between Degas and Bouguereau, where Bouguereau tries to dunk on Degas and says, It's too bad you never finish your paintings. And Degas says it's too bad you never start yours. Oh! In the end, it's all about taste. Yeah, it's just about what you like. And people are delusional enough to think that what they like is objectively true because they like it. And of course, they're making rational assessments about what's good or bad, right? It's like I often think about Frazetta. It's like to me, Frazetta is so amazing that it's like it should be impossible to not be impressed or to not think it's great. But I have to admit, when I pull back from my gut impressions, I can just totally see how if you show a certain kind of person, even Frazetta, it would just land as cheesy. You know, and there's just not really that much there. It's like, it's just about your taste, man. Hello, Marfrizis. Boxwing says, you said something last stream about beginners improving when they create big long-term pieces. I've stalled in getting better, so I pulled out some of my larger pieces to work on. That's great. That's great. Give us a report when you finish them up. Let us know if you think you got much better from them. Where's my damn 0.7? Data RAM. Lalokin says, well, if art is self-expression and we can say there are some bad people out there, isn't some art then better or worse? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, for me at this point, I just see so little benefit in evaluating what is good or bad art. Like, it does so little good to make some sort of strong claim about what is good and especially about what is bad art. It does so little good. And the bad that it does is almost immeasurable. Like, it's so clear once you've been teaching art for a while and hearing people talk about art that even if it's not obvious, it subtly conditions unsuspecting people and students like super profoundly. And it crawls into their brain and it makes them paranoid about their own practice, and they're avoiding stuff that they don't even understand. And then they start building up this false Gollum version of art of like, okay, well, this is what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do because this is good and this is bad. And they've never tried any of those things. They have no idea what the hell they like. They're starting from a place of fear. It's just like useless, unnecessary nonsense. It's just not helpful. It's just not helpful. I know when you're young and full of piss and vinegar and, you know, you're trying to find some source of energy to make you want to head towards making great work and stuff like that, you kind of like feel like you've got to manifest something like that. But for my money, it's just not. Once you get over that, it's so clear it is so not helpful. It does so little good. It doesn't benefit the soul for even a couple minutes, and then the negatives can linger for years. So stupid. Yeah, I really don't have any interest in evaluating what is good or bad art. But, you know, the problem continues because, unfortunately, so many dumb bastards out there have nothing else to say. They got nothing else to say but to sit around and pretend that their judgments about art are substantial or mean something, because they're just, you know, they got nothing else to say. So just watch out for those people. Just watch out for those people. What about art competitions? I don't know. I mean, if that's your thing. If you need to know my opinion on them, probably the raw fact that I've never entered one probably tells you everything that you need to know. Does that just competition made me think of publication and stuff like that. If anyone has the Imagine effects that I was in, could you just send me some pictures of the pages I was on? Could you just email them to me? I was, you know,
yeah, they contacted me and I sent them the info. You know, they were working on it months before, and then by the time it came out, I wasn't tracking it, and I just completely missed the issue when it was on the shelves and stuff like that. So yeah, I just never saw it. I'd like to see it. I went and looked for it at the bookstore when I realized I had missed it like 2 months late, but of course they didn't have back issues or anything. I think I was in the December version, or the December issue. I'm not too sure though. Didn't you say that you participated in this one Japanese event, which name I can't remember? Ahmed Al-Durd was also in the same one. Ah, yes. Yeah. I don't, when I say art competition, I was definitely thinking more like traditional like juried shows, or like submitting pieces to win a medal or take first place or something like that. I was thinking the traditional stuff. That show, I didn't even think of that when I was talking about that, because it was just such a novelty. You know, that whole system is now defunct, so I think I can speak about it openly. I never took it seriously. It was not an actual competition to me. It's just entertainment. It was just a way to provide some entertainment. I did it on a lark. I think all of us were doing it on a lark. I did not get an actual competitive feeling from any of the people involved. And it was, at least from my read, it was like all the lasers and the EDM music and stuff like that. It was like purposefully silly. It was like purposefully silly. It was just a form of entertainment. Also, I was utterly dominant and I'm the best, but it was also completely silly and not serious. Hello there says, hello, Stephen. How did you sleep last night? Like a baby. Slept well last night. No problem. Forgot to ask, how was your dog? She's good. She was a bit itchy yesterday, got to admit. She was doing a lot of scratching yesterday. Today, no scratching. I was a little worried for her. I was like, what, do you got fleas or something? No fleas. I was like, what, you got mosquito bites or something? I couldn't find nothing. Ticks, nothing. Anyone who claims to be an arbiter of righteousness on whether an artwork is objectively moral should be inspected with a critical eye. Whether an artwork is objectively moral. That's another level.
Not just if it's good or not, but if it's moral. Ooh. All right, my connection seems to have balanced out, so I'm gonna turn my light back on. I'm running experiments. I'm running mad scientist experiments. Let's see what happens. You're gonna see, oh, you're all gonna see. Now the question is, if this is the problem, where am I going to run this light to? See, all right, now the light's on. Nice and bright. Connection's not plummeting. Interesting, to say the least. And the connection was good the whole time the light was off. You can't deny that. You can't deny that. Only 1.6% drop frames. Well, I don't have my plan for this up. It might be only on my iPad. Oh no, this is generally right. I need to look at my digital plan because sometimes I don't remember if I had planned an area to be dark or light by looking only at the pencils. All right, looks all right. The connection. And now our area is nice and lit up. This is a big piece. This is 1/2, and then it continues on to a second sheet here. So it's left and right, it's a diptych. It's 18 by 48 inches total. Steven, has the smoke situation toned down where you live? Yeah, the past 2 days have been good. The air quality returned to normal. Actually, right before stream started, it started dipping again. Or like when I was out on my run earlier. Let's see what it's at now. Oh yeah, it's getting worse. Yeah, today it's having a problem again. It's climbing up into 110 on the scale. Unhealthy for sensitive groups now. It was really good the past couple of days, but yeah. Just now in the past few hours, it's wavering. Hello, Yam. Unfortunately, you are streaming when I'm going to sleep. I'm sorry, Yam. I'm sorry. Forgive me, Yam. You've got to forgive me. No, Yummy, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to make Yam cry, but tonight I'm cleaning out my closet. What song is that? Hello, that's a big piece. Yes, it is. $18 by 48 inches. M&M cleaned out my closet. Thank you. I completely forgot about that. Thank you, stream, for being my own little Shazam. My personal Shazam. Knights vs. robots. The brave knights versus the unfeeling robots. And a wizard or two in there for good measure. They fought all day and all night. Shit was awesome. The conflict was brutal, and both sides lost many. It was wicked. It was freaking awesome. You should have been there. I mean, I could narrate it in this cool voice, but it wouldn't be the same. I was there. Sick, man, I'm telling you. I was up on like this hill. I had all these drinks. People serving me food. Super comfy. I got to see the whole thing. Sick. Artos Artley says, how did you study anatomy? I did all sorts of things, including the classic charnel ground contemplations, i.e. going to a medical school and having them show you cadavers. It's good stuff if you can get it. I did everything. I mean, anatomy is so big that there's no one thing to do to get it. It's also a lot of people, when they say, how do you study anatomy, they are including in there, without being specific about their terms, how do you get good at figure drawing? And there's a lot of overlap, but anatomy and figure drawing are actually kind of separate things, right? So if you include it in the broader sense of including how do you improve your draftsmanship at figure drawing, there's just so much to do. So I read books, I went to life drawing, I took anatomy classes, I looked at cadavers. I did anatomy tracings where I like took masterworks and drew the muscles over them. I did those all in really brutal fashion. You know, they were, when I was doing those, they were homework assignments for Ray Bustos. And he has you do those with ballpoint pen of all things. So you've got to get it exactly right. You can't make any mistakes. You have to do all the little striations. And he doesn't care if you're right. He's like, you've got to be right and it's got to be beautiful. Some serious stuff. And I watched videos, tons of videos, and looked at skeletons and like model skeletons separate from the cadaver studies and all that. It's just, you know, it's a lifelong thing. It's a lifelong pursuit. I feel like I'm still learning anatomy. I still, every now and then while I'm working, I'll put on some anatomy videos like Procos or Ray's on New Master Academy or some new anatomy teacher who's teaching anatomy. I'll just put them on in the background and see what I can pick up, what little tidbits I haven't heard before, things like that. It's a vast, vast subject. Welcome, Mizubi, welcome. Wait, how do you get to that? Like, can you ask a school to study cadavers, like, legally? I once went to a medical museum, and that was so awesome. Yeah, you can do it at medical museums. You can do it if you go to, like, those bodies exhibits things. I did it because Ray had a hookup at a medical school's dissection department. I think it was UCLA, if I remember correctly. I don't know if you could just ask. I think you probably would need a hookup. But, yeah, Ray had a hookup. And he took us, I think I went twice. I went once as one of his students, and then I went again when I was TAing. Yeah, it might have been twice. It's a little hard to remember now. This was all a long time ago. I'm sure if you take a class with, if you take an anatomy class with Ray at one of his in-person institutions, I'm sure he still, it was a big priority for him, so I'm sure he still arranges that, if at all possible. A lot of the teachers who focus specifically on anatomy, they do have some sort of hookup for stuff like that. You spend long enough as an anatomist, you will bump into that. Or you can just go get some. Jesus. Yeah, you can be a Victorian era bagman. What's his name, Ray? Yeah, Ray Bustos. B-U-S-T-O-S. Can you guys hear the music? It's supposed to be quiet, but just can you hear it at all? Hello, Daryl Grant. Hello, Renola Dominguez. Jack Foster says, Steven, do you still recommend your shading course on Proco, or better to wait for the course to drop next month without feedback? Secrets of Shading is still good. You know, if I didn't still stand by it, I would take it down or something like that. Yeah, it's just a different scale of introduction, you know. Secrets of Shading is $25, you know, it's naturally going to be different. It's like a much quicker introduction just to the idea of compression, why the nature of light photons hitting forms produces compression, and just sort of how to capture that in drawings. It's just a quick, and by quick, I still mean it's like, I think Secrets of Shading is like 4-ish hours if you add all the demos together. It's a quick introduction to that part of modeling form. But form from imagination that's just like one part of it. I mean, form from imagination, what Secrets of Shading has is compressed into like the first 5 or so videos. And then everything after that is much more specific. Form from imagination is much more concerned with the modeling factors and how those present on the basic kinds of primary forms. And Secrets of Shading is not, it does mention them in the beginning diagrams, but it doesn't emphasize the modeling factors in the way that Form from Imagination does. It just focuses on, well, the secret of shading in my style, which is compression. So it just depends what you're looking for. Do you suggest FFI course to a character artist student? Depends how much you plan on rendering, you know, or creating form. I mean, on like the most broad level, I'd recommend it to almost anybody, but that's my bias because I think form is super important, and I think form sort of intersects with everything. But that is my bias because I'm a form-focused artist. If you don't have that sort of
syncretic streak in you, then it depends. Like when you say character artist, do you mean the technical job of character artist, like someone who does 3D models of characters for games and things like that? No, I wouldn't jump to recommend Form from Imagination. I mean, the info would be useful if you want to have the broadest, deepest capabilities possible, but the 3D program is going to handle form for you. You just need to have a grasp on how to technically execute it in your 3D program of choice. If you mean like a 2D character drawer person, yeah, much more applicable there. But there's a lot of, if you're talking about like 2D character concept art, it depends what kinds of games and projects you want to go for. You know, there's a lot of games and projects and successful concept artists who focus on characters who do really graphic work. You know, form is still in there. I would argue form is still in there, but it might be the case that you would only agree with me once you're high, intermediate, or advanced, and you sort of have unlocked the artist's third eye, and you're like, ah, yes, everything is in everything. Then you'll get it. Then you'll agree with me. Until then, you might be like, shut up, Steven. Like, these things don't have rendering on them, and these are really graphic character designs, so why would form be that important? And I would go, all right, I'll talk to you in a few years. I don't have the line width that I want, and I don't have my ruler. Where is my ruler? Hold on a second. Jesus Christ, this place is a mess. It's shit everywhere. Dude, what I specifically need is my little elevated, found it. There we go. And I found a bag with more pen widths in it. And 0.7, very nice. Steven, any chance you are familiar with the work of Kentaro Miura? Yes, yes. See, I like this ruler for inking because it's a diamond shape, so the edges are actually off the page. So when you pull an ink line, when you remove the ruler, when you're done pulling the line, it doesn't smear the line because it's not actually touching it, which is not the case with regular flat rulers. Even if you very carefully pull it off, the ink runs under the edge of the ruler. It like gets drawn in under the edge and it leaves a smeary line. Diamond shape, calm down. Easy now. Easy now. Making me laugh. You're fucking killing me with that shit. Is there a special name for that kind of ruler? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, they're very common. You just got to keep your eye out for it. You got to pick one that has it.
Or they're relatively common. They're not that hard to find. Just when you go to the stationery store, look at it edge on and look at that. See? See how it's vaguely diamond shaped? How the edges taper aggressively? It's thicker in the middle. So that there's that cutout underneath. Only this middle part rests on the page, so it doesn't draw the ink under the edge. What's that ruler called? I don't know. This one's just Pacific Arc brand. I think that's a pretty generic ruler company. Yeah, I don't think these are rare to find. These aren't some special artist tool. Just look at the edge when you're at the stationery store and pick one that has that profile. Called a boat ruler, dude? Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't talk to me like that. I will ban you. Swear to God, if anybody mentions boat rulers, I will ban you. No spreading mis and disinformation in here. Boat rulers don't exist. There is no secret government agency that is illegally hiding evidence of boat rulers from Congress. So everybody just calm down, all right? There's no secret military unit that is focused on recovering boat rulers. Left my pen open. Still waiting on the mix and mastered Red Diamond Man to release. Any music producers out there have my full blessing to mix and master Red Diamond Man. Share it for everybody to enjoy. And the judge was as sure a draftsman as anything else that man turned his hands to. Of this is the judge, and the night never ends. Here's a random question. What artists do you get compared to, and how do you feel about that? Well, I don't know. It depends what part of my work people are looking at, because I do a lot of different kinds of work. People who are familiar with the wide variety of things that I do, I don't know, I feel like those people tend not to compare me much. But people who have only seen a certain part of my body of work, I don't know, I get Giger quite often if people see just like my little, like my select portfolio of pencil drawings that are on like my website. And that's just, I don't know what to say, absurdly flattering or something like that. I feel like the most common comparison I get is that
people say my work reminds them of Dark Souls. So I get compared to that product more rather than being compared to a particular artist. Stephen, what did the Congress people say while you drew for them? I'm so curious. I can't talk about it too much, but they were pumped. We all had a good time. They were very interested. I mean, they asked tons of questions. They wanted to know about the process and like why I draw stuff like this and stuff like that. They were very interested. They were very kind. When will you surrender your data and accept the Borg? Never! Have you ever watched a video of another artist's work and want to work like them? Of course. Of course. I've spent my whole life getting inspiration and soaking up what other people are doing. Of course. Less so these days. And that might change. I might go back to being more, I don't know, interested in following somebody's footsteps or something like that. That could happen. I'm not going to close the door to that, but these days, less so. I just kind of, at a certain point, you realize that you've got enough info in your head, you know? At a certain point, enough years have gone by, and you just realize, oh yeah, you know, I've seen millions of pictures, I've seen many, many paintings, many, many drawings, been inspired by many, many things, and you know, the skills have been improving and stuff like that, and it just becomes clear that, you know, it's more about making work than looking at others' work and emulating others' work and all that. So you sort of just naturally start spending less time looking at the work of others and trying to emulate it or anything like that. But that could change. Jack Foster says, do you still buy art books and monographs? Yeah, every now and then. The last one I bought was a book of Rockwell Kant's drawings. Is it Kent or Kant? I think it's Kent. A little Dover book of Rockwell Kent's drawings. Hey, Stephen, I have a question. I've been looking at a bunch of art and photography, and it came to the conclusion that detail is basically just noise, but in paintings, you design it. Any opinions? I've been looking at a bunch of art and photography, and I came to the conclusion that detail is basically just noise, but in paintings, you design it. Any opinions? I don't know. I think detail gets a bad rep. Detail is like, it's true that a picture can't really hinge on its details. It does need to live off of its large arrangement, its overall ideas.
but people remember the details. The details are some of the things that get the audience the most excited about the picture. And often it's the details that they sort of like remember, that they take away from the picture. So yeah, they need to be put in their proper place, but I think details get a bit of a bad rap. I think details are great. I love doing details. I also want to open your mind to, you know, this could be a difference of opinion and terminology, but this has always felt right to me. Details are not just necessarily small things. I think it's possible to construe details as little moments of insight. So they might not be finicky, itchy, high frequency, like, you know, flickering of contrast that defines detail. It could be actually very simple and pulled back, but it's like an unusual moment or a moment of great interest. I think about something like Bernini's The Rape of Proserpina. It has that famous moment where Hades' hands are squeezing her thigh, and there's the very realistic rendering of his fingers deforming her thigh flesh. That to me feels like a detail, and a powerful detail, but it's not high frequency, right? It's not annoying noise. It's all white marble, so it's very flat contrast-wise, right? It's on a value scale, all of the information that's going on there is probably going on mostly between white and like 60% gray, and then you jump down to the dark accent for the moments of compression. So in terms of value contrast, it's actually very understated. And besides the details on the fingers, the thigh is basically a wide open form, you know, with very little finicky detail interrupting it. But I think everybody would agree that is a detail, and that is something that people walk away from the picture holding on to. And in fact, it's one of the most famous moments in art history. So yeah, keep your mind open to that details are not just high frequency itchiness. They can also be broader design-wise, but they are moments of insight, of strange and special insight. Earthling Official says, dude, the way you articulate your thoughts on this stuff is awesome. Oh, well, I'm just trying to help. I'm glad you think that. I've been thinking about this stuff for a long ass time. I've been talking about art and analyzing art for, I don't know, going on 2 decades now. You do it for that long, anybody's gonna build up some facility talking about it. I don't like that. I want to use the 0.7 for that. Where the hell did the 0.7 go? Steven, do you prefer Rubens or Caravaggio? Rubens. I'm a Rubens guy. I like Caravaggio a lot. I like Caravaggio a lot, but if I had to pick one over the other, I'd go Rubens. Brendan Etelt says, "You're gorgeous. What's your skincare routine?" Oh, nothing. Just the blood splatter from my enemies. Also, do you ever make mistakes when inking your work, and what do you do to correct those mistakes? Yeah, I make mistakes all the time. I haven't used it here. I really don't. I usually don't, but for something this big, I do have whiteout handy for anything that might go catastrophically wrong. This would be my first time using whiteout on an ink piece in like a really involved way. I usually, if there's a mistake, I just don't worry about it. Usually, it's usually not a huge deal. It takes a lot to stress me out about a mistake. It's got to be pretty bad. But for something like this, that has a lot of planning, you know, it's pretty locked down. There's nothing wrong with using some whiteout. So I have some, I haven't used any yet. But yeah, if something goes very wrong, I got nothing against using some whiteout. Easy peasy. What was the pen you had before that with the brush looking nib? Was it this one? It's the same thing, another Staedtler marker, but they just, a Staedtler fine liner, but they make one with a chisel tip. Sir, how you imagine characters in mood, their way of being, inspire you to draw a character? How do I imagine a character / mood to inspire me to draw? I'm gonna take that as like, how do I connect with a character enough or feel their mood directly enough that it'll sort of inspire me to draw them? For a specific character, like, okay, so when I say character, I mean like a character, like a specific character, like something for a product, right? Like for a story. Like, for example, I would say what I have going on here, none of these characters rise to the level, right? These are design elements at this point. None of these individual knights is really, you can read into them and make up a little story about them, but they're just knights, right? They're not characters. A specific character, like with a backstory and all of that, if it's going to be something of mine, it's got to be pretty in-depth, you know? I've got to have a really clear story in mind. There's got to be something to head towards. But usually for my own work, I don't do much of that. You know, the stories that I write for myself are more ambient, I would say. So usually if I'm doing like a character, it's based on a great character that I've read in a book or something like that. And that's what I would advise for most people who are starting out. You're probably not a professional writer, right? You're probably not Cormac McCarthy or Brandon Sanderson or something like that, probably. So it's a little crazy if you're gonna do characters to sort of like shoot yourself in the foot by working from material that you kind of just like threw together real quick. It's different if it's something you really care about, right? Then there is a reason to use your own characters because you really care about them, right? That is something they can always have over Cormac McCarthy's characters or something like that. But aside from that, if you're just sort of winging it or you're giving yourself a little prompt and it's not a character you actually care about, like, it never quite lands right with me. It's like, why do that? Just pick someone from Harry Potter and draw them. You know, like, you know their personality, you know who they're supposed to be. If you're going to twist them, you have more foundation to twist them in an interesting direction rather than a boring direction. Yeah, I think just work from great material for the most part. Work from great material. And then once you've done that for a long time, it will set a bar for this is what a good character, this is how much depth a good character has, this is what a mood from a great character feels like. And then you can extend that into your own work afterwards. Do you sell individual pieces? No, not usually. I might start doing that at some point, but not so far. It's just not the way my art practice went, really. You know, I've spent most of my years as a designer, so I'm more used to
selling my services rather than my individual pieces.
Goodbye, Arctic Monkey.
What do you recommend for world building and painting very quick? Well, for world building, you know, it depends what kind of world you're doing. You know, are you world building a contemporary world? If you're world building a contemporary world, I think go visit the place that you're world building. You know, like a place on Earth, you know what I mean? It's like if you're trying to world build some alternate version of Detroit or something like that, go to Detroit. If you're world building a fantasy book or a sci-fi book, don't learn from, you know, me. That go look up Brandon Sanderson's world building advice or Alistair Reynolds' world building advice or something like that. All of the genres sort of have their own little sets of tips and tricks. And people have been thinking about that stuff for a long time. I will say, people do seem to get really stuck on world building as if world building is the story. And I wish people saw more clearly that world building is not the story. I think it's easier to grasp onto, and that's why people spend a lot of time doing it, because it's like objective. It's like, here's the money system, here's the materials that they have to build their villages out of, all that kind of stuff. Fun, definitely part of the designer job for a particular kind of design and position. But that's not the story. And I feel like people should spend more time with the story. When I was teaching high-end production design at like Art Center, I didn't really teach world building. I taught story. You know, I taught 5-act structure, 3-act structure, understanding story beats in terms of movies, in terms of games. I was more concerned with story rather than world building. And I think that people should pay more attention to that. I think there's a lot of stuff left on the table from not understanding those things. And as to painting quickly, this is a blanket statement, but I think there's very few people who should be painting quickly. It's like, it's super unlikely that it's a good idea for you to paint quickly. I think that a lot of people, they see a few speed paint videos online, they see their favorite artists painting quickly, and they just assume that must be for me, or that's how it's done. I think that's a bad assumption to make. It can be damaging programming, and it can hold you back in the long run. I think that people should start more with the mindset that if you wind up being a fast painter, that should be a fucking surprise to you, like a huge shock. Like the day you find out that painting quickly works for you, you should be like, whoa, that's wild. Really? That makes no sense. You know, that I think is the better way to go, because why in God's name should painting be fast? I mean, aren't you trying to manifest an entire alternate reality with realistic lighting and realistic forms while telling a story and communicating a mood and character? Why in God's name would that be fast? If you rush that, you're probably just gonna get frustrated over and over and over again. And if you just did one slow painting that actually gave you the result that you wanted, a good result, that could change your life. And a lot of people, when they finally do that, they're laughing to themselves. They're like, I'm never gonna paint fast again. It doesn't matter that it's fast for an hour. It doesn't matter that I feel nice for an hour or 2 hours. I kept making garbage. And what's more important is making something that's good instead, even if it takes 100 hours. MF says, while I agree, I also have only so much time to live and make art. Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. And you are, I don't know you, right? I don't know you, MF. So you may be right for you, right? That I just don't know you. So that this is not like, this couldn't possibly be actual good personal advice. But for anyone out there who has that same reaction, like I only have so much time to be alive and make art, so I really should be working really fast. I'm begging you to ask yourself, how's that working out for you? Have you been painting fast for years and you have 0 in your portfolio? If that's the case, it really doesn't sound like it's working out for you. You know, I know a lot of people, I know a few people who have started, you know, a year to 2 years ago, and all they did was pictures that they spent 50+ hours on, and they just have way less under their belt, but they got better way faster and they have a portfolio. They actually have finished drawings to show. Even if each 3-hour painting is quick and you feel like that makes for a productive afternoon, if you're not proud of these things and you're not actually showing them, you can spend 40 years getting to 0 3 hours at a time. And don't, again, I also want to remind people, like, I know this sucks for a lot of people to hear or remember, but it's like, dude, think of your favorite artists. How many of their pieces are your favorite piece? How many pictures have they really done? Most of history's greatest artists are known for less than 10 paintings. Does that recontextualize anything for you? Da Vinci did 14. There's 14 Da Vinci paintings. Does that recontextualize anything for you? If it wasn't this stupid internet doldrum of just grind it out, be doing it all the time, if we were in a different context and it was like, how should you think and how should you work and how should you live to get 10 good ones before you're dead? Does that recontextualize it? I totally agree with you, but this is more for exams and deadlines, external crap. Oh yeah, for that, just do whatever you gotta do. Just ignore everything I said. Once external stuff is guiding it, then yes, just do whatever needs to be done. Sansia says, but Da Vinci was busy wasting time and entertaining his rich friends and doing everything but painting. He was a socialite, that one. Warrington Feasel, that's a funny handle, Warrington Feasel Feet. But for comics, it's a different story. You got to pump out the drawings to finish the story. Well, I think it's the same story. It's just the individual drawings are constituent elements of this larger whole. So it's the whole comic, the whole story that is the big deliverable, right? But I would say within those big deliverables, probably the same thing, you know, just like, it's probably worth it to take each one as like, as much as you can bear, as much as it doesn't burn you out. Try to make each one as good as it can be. You know, make each
I mean the whole story, the whole comic, not the individual pictures. You know, don't make your career as a comic book artist this infinite buildup to doing nothing. Because it's really easy to look back after 30 years and realize, oh, that's all I did. I just built up infinitely to do nothing. I built up infinitely to doing nothing. I have nothing in my portfolio. I have endless sketches, endless studies, half-executed things, nothing that I'm proud of, and nothing to show and nothing to share, even though I've been doing this for 20 goddamn years. That happens all the time. It's a banal and common tragedy. Don't let it happen to you. And then there is Beksinski with like 300 bangers. Yeah, well, yeah. Then there's the Beksinskis. There's always the freaks. But we should be slow to evaluate ourselves against the freaks, I'll tell you what. Have you seen Spider-Verse yet? I wonder how many times you've been asked this. Many times. Many times this week. I have not seen it yet. Are you guys seeing it in theaters or is it streaming somewhere? I don't know if this is one of those movies where they're doing like a same-day streaming thing or anything like that. If it's in theaters, I'm probably not going to see it for a while. I have not been getting to the movie theater lately. Theater Steven, and you asked us this question multiple times. Yeah, I bet I did. I'm a forgetful little fucker. Gustave Doré is a freak, sculptures and paintings too. Yeah, he was one of the best. He also had a great team though. Not to discount his incredible talent, but also don't sleep on the team. It was never going to happen if he wasn't hooked up with some of the best engravers of his time as well. Cynocephalus says, damn, and all this time I haven't seen you inking a page like this. Yeah, I don't usually do ink this big. It's been a long time at least. I did a few very large ink drawings back in like 2013-ish, 2014-ish. But it's been a while, been a long time since I've done a really big ink piece. I did a bunch for a friend's album back then, in Kenji 1X. I did these big, this is bigger, it's across 2 sheets of paper. I did those, the ones I'm talking about, on big illustration boards. So they were big, they were like 20, I want to say 22 by 36 inches they were big ink drawings. I started playing that new Zelda. I did do that. I'm like right at the beginning. I only play it like in like 10-minute chunks. Maybe my gaming days are behind me. I just don't really have the time to like. It's hard to build up the momentum of a good sitting, you know, to like sit and play for a long time. Just like there's so much to do in life. Do you only use one type of pen on this one and make line variations with multiple passes? No, I'm mixing it up. It depends what I'm doing. Like sort of action lines like these, I'm doing them with thicker pens or with the nib pens. Big areas I'm doing with the brush pen as I hit them. When I'm doing like reflections on armor, I like to do those with the brush pen just so I get like a more organic, wiggly kind of a line. So it depends what surface I'm doing. What I'm doing right now, it's just like straight schematic stuff. So I'm just using the one pen for this, which is probably not even the best idea. I should be throwing down some darker patches. Let me see what I've got in my digital plan here. Yeah, so instead of outlining it, let me throw some reflection-y bits down. Corey Krumnacher, hello. Hello, Stephen. Hope you and everyone is doing okay, and the game is a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it. Great. I'm looking forward to it. I like just left the tutorial. That's how far I am. What I really want is just that Elden Ring DLC. That's what I really want. Will you add anything about inking to your course? I would maybe add just, if I did, it wouldn't be a lot. You know, it'd be maybe 1 or 2 videos giving tips on like, if you want to try to do the assignments in ink, here's some things to think about. But beyond that, probably not. You know, it's the course is really about modeling factors, and form, the creation of form using gradation. And that's possible in ink. It's just, I mean, ink's just not great at that. It's just not the #1 thing ink does. You know, it resists you if you try to do gradual buildups. You know, it is possible. If you have a lot of dexterity, you can build things up very carefully with hatches. You can dilute ink, of course, but in the most common way that people use ink, it just fights you on that stuff. So yeah, I'm probably not going to add a lot about that. I'm not, because I feel like that would be me pretending that sort of what I just said is not true. Like I would be I would be positing otherwise, that it's like, oh yeah, you could totally like the slow buildup and modeling factor based approach that I'm providing here for pencils, like totally the exact same thing in ink. It's not. It just isn't. It just is not. Ink really, its form is mostly derived from the arrangement of light shape versus shadow shape. Just how much information you can wring out of the relationship between those two big shapes. And it just really struggles to nail modeling factors, especially in the shadow and things like that. What is the difference between a hobgoblin and a goblin? I don't know, actually. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know the actual distinction. Lack Aslam says, Stephen, do emotions affect the overall quality of an art piece, or do you just go with whatever happens? Yeah, they definitely affect it. I mean, it also depends sort of where you're at in the journey, you know? Early on, emotions tend to affect the art piece almost universally negatively. You know, very early on, it's much more common for people to just be flooded by adverse reactions and negative emotional states while working and thinking about their art career and stuff like that. So that definitely affects the piece or, you know, sort of in a sense, in the worst case, it'll drive you away from the drawing board. But once you have more of a grip on it, yeah, you know, especially if you include the idea of how much energy you have, that definitely affects the piece. But yeah, the emotions are important. I think but now I'm sort of prevaricating here because I'm like, they're important in a very narrow sense. It's like, I think some people think that if you're drawing like an angry piece, you're supposed to be angry the whole time. And I just want to be clear that that's nonsense. That doesn't, no, that's not. That may be true for you as a particular artist for your practice. You may want that, but that's not at all necessary, you know? You never have to be feeling anything you don't want to feel while you're working on a piece. Interesting breakdowns of what makes a goblin a hobgoblin. You guys are clearly academic experts on goblins, hob or not. Dog hair on my brush tip. Looking absolutely mad dope, Stephen. Thank you, Mel. You're very kind. You are very kind. Yoba, for real, drawing is acting. It definitely can be. I mean, you will very often feel what is being depicted in your picture. If it's an exciting picture, you'll sort of get a rise out of it. If it's a calm picture, it can help you feel calm. That's definitely on the table. Animation specifically is very directly, that's just acting. Animation, I would say, is actually basically a near perfect overlap with just acting as an actor with your body. It's like, in some sense, you need to be a good actor to be a good animator. Because it's all coming from you. If the character is going to be interesting and charismatic, like, you must manifest that. And it's not being manifested by anything or anyone but you. Do you think drawing is a gift or a skill? Obviously can be learned, but how much is inbuilt, do you think? I do believe talent is a thing. I think it would be wrong of me to try to deny the existence of talent once you've just met enough people, seen enough trajectories. It's just clear that some people have sort of a, you can just tell they had an easier go of it than someone else, but it's not, so little of it seems to be like an inbuilt thing. Like, usually when I analyze somebody's talent, it's clear that it's fortuitous conditioning factors. You know, they just temperamentally are very relaxed, or they're less inclined to overthink things, so that keeps them at the drawing board more, so they practice more. Or, you know, they have a life situation that just gives them more free time to practice. Good teachers early on, like, it overlaps with too many other things for it to be reasonable to think of talent in the conventional way that we tend to talk about talent, where it's just like some souls are blessed with this ability and it's abstracted away from their life environment and other things that are going on, other parts of their personality and things like that. That makes no sense to me. That makes zero sense. That talent I don't believe in. But it is for sure, in almost every single way that matters, just a skill. It's just, you've got to gain what you want to gain, and you've got to practice it, and you've got to ingrain it and things like that. Very little of it, very little of long-term success is attributable to talent, I believe. Mizubi Art says, I've really been feeling in my element lately. Drawing and painting wildlife makes me feel more connected to something timeless and rooted. Each animal has its own intelligence. Nice. Animals are awesome. I am a lover of animals. I don't get to spend much time with them in New York, but I am a lover of animals. I used to go to the zoo. There was quite a while in college, probably a year, where I went to the zoo for a while every week, every like Saturday. I was a member at the LA Zoo. And then it sort of, you know, I got more demands put on my time. I started going like every other week, but it was like time to rest. And I would just walk around and look at the animals and draw them. I would draw them too, because I just couldn't help but practice at that time in my life. But yeah, that was nice. Have you ever tried any form of engraving? I found myself enjoying works of Durer. Did some lino cut recently. No, I haven't tried it. I've always been interested, but no, I haven't done any engraving. My wife is very familiar with all of those techniques and can do them. She used to work at a print shop in New York City and would assist people with all that stuff. She's very familiar with all the traditional printing techniques, engraving, all of that. I always wanted to try making lithographs. Doing the drawings on stone and then printing them off of the stone. I've always wanted to try that just because I love the look of them, the ones that I've seen from history and stuff like that. Just so much align with the things that I like in art and the techniques that I would hope would be well reproduced. So I've always wanted to try lithographs. Danielle Braccio says, hey Stephen, I'd appreciate your opinion on my situation. I'm going through a very bad period and I have very little mental energy to draw, 30 minutes to 2 hours a day, but I need to study to get into art uni. Help. I mean, that's tough. Because my usual advice to people is that if you're in a very bad period and mental energy is low, is just take a break. It's the best thing you can do, you know? But sometimes we're just in a situation where we gotta fucking eat it, and it sucks. Sometimes you're just in a time where it sucks. So, you know, probably the right thing to advise is relax, look for help, look for support, tell people that you're burnt out and that you're having a hard time. See if anyone can help somehow, get you an extension or something like that. You never know what's going to happen. And right now, this sucks because it might sound like I'm like undercutting your motivations or your goals to get into art university, which is a big deal, right? But right now, a semester, even a year, probably seems tremendous. It feels like it would be a huge disaster probably to not get into art uni right now and have to wait either a semester or a year based on how long it takes for the next time that they admit into the program you want to get into. But in the long run, that's nothing, man. That's nothing. It's just not a big deal. I wanted to get into Art Center right out of high school, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it on time. Not for the program that I wanted. And they only, for the program that I wanted, they only admitted once a year. So I waited, you know, and back then I thought it sucked, but I got over it, you know, really quick and just accepted what I had to do. And I just spent the year, I moved out to California anyway, spent the year working on my portfolio and taking night classes. And just living my life. And it's, you know, not a bad thing at all. I don't regret that. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. I think it's always a good idea to prioritize taking care of yourself. I think I missed a question from Daryl Grant. Sorry to nag about this, but that's the pen I was talking about. What's the name? That was long enough ago that if it's this one, this is the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. They have these everywhere now. These are easy to find at most art stores. Yeah, and like Colin Gallagher said, wait, was it Colin? I said, but somebody said to Daniel that the 30 minutes to 2 hours a day, that's actually quite good. It is quite good. That's fine. If you make good use of that time, if you're really focused, that's plenty of time to improve. Plenty of time. True Omen says, Steven, what if an artist loses passion and doesn't feel it for anything? He doesn't watch movies, shows, doesn't play video games. There is nothing of substance in his mind. ADHD to... Sorry, let me scroll up because I got a heart in the way of... Damn you, heart. People, type stuff in chat so that this heart gets out of my way. All right, I got it. ADHD to stick to. There is nothing of substance in his mind. I don't know. I don't know you, unfortunately. So it's very. You've got to take everything that I would say with a grain of salt here, but that is rarely. That's rarely about the part of you that is an artist, you know? It's not the artist part of you that is losing passion, that doesn't connect with anything, that doesn't enjoy consuming the artistry of others. That's almost completely antithetical to the artistic side. It's a person thing, you know? You are probably having a hard time. Maybe dealing with a little bit of depression, right? One of the most common symptoms of depression is that you lose interest in things that you normally are interested in. And I think that it's better to address those problems on just a person level, on just a human level, rather than an artist level. And if you do that, the art part will handle itself. It'll handle itself. Avoid getting, gritty about it. Like, in my experience, it doesn't work to try to nurture wholesome feeling and to sort of work with your depression. It doesn't work to do that if you're like doing it to be good at art again or to be more productive. Like the productivity snake is just going to keep biting its own tail and beating you up and giving you reasons to feel guilty and things like that. I would avoid any of that. And if you don't have a lot of experience in this in your life, this can take a while, but like really make sure that you're operating from a place of like true compassion for yourself, peaceful, warm, soft, patient compassion, and nurture the part of you that is, again, it's like there is nothing but stuff to be passionate about in the world. There is nothing but things to feel for. And there is a plethora of great art, contemporary or historical, to enjoy. So you've got to lovingly go in there and blow up the part of your brain that is pretending it's bored. It's hard to discuss these things without using dismissive language that can sort of seem like it's making little or making light of the pain that's built into all of that stuff. And I don't want to do that, but it is simply just, it's not true. You've got to remember that it's not true. And the artistic part of you just knows nothing of that, knows nothing of things being boring, of things being uninteresting, of there being nothing to consume, to enjoy, to love, to charge you up. It knows nothing of those things. It's the other stuff. It's the person side that is getting burnt out, feeling beat up, feeling depressed, feeling tired. And that needs to be addressed on a person level. Time will either heal or kill. tends to do both in the long run. I find time very inspiring personally. Have you seen the Chilling with Your AI Homie animation video by James Lee? I have not. It dramatizes the user-specific content generation a bit. Interesting. Steven, do you define yourself as more introverted or an extroverted person? I usually say I'm an introvert, but I'm extrovert curious, something like that. I definitely have strong qualities of both. I'm fluid. You know, left to my own devices, left completely to my own devices, I would probably manifest introvert activity over and over and over again. You know, I'm a homebody. You know, obviously I love drawing. You know, I like to lead a rich inner life and just spend time on my own and make things and things like that. But I don't know. I've never had a problem like, all right, it's time to talk about something, or it's time to perform, or it's time to communicate with others. I've never had a problem just being like, all right, well, that's what's appropriate for this context, so let's go. And I appreciate it. I appreciate sort of things like this, like streaming and things like that, that sort of give me an appropriate outlet for that part of my personality. I really appreciate those things. It sort of lets me sort of check in with that side of the spectrum regularly instead of it being an irregular thing. It's nice to regularly go back and forth from the introvert side to the extrovert side. Steven, are you a proponent of the client is always right, or should you stand your ground when creative disagreements arise, and to what extent? Depends on the client. Some clients need your help, and they want you to guide it because they don't trust themselves. You know, they're not super confident people, or they just don't feel like they have any, just whatever conditioning they have, they just don't, you know, feel like that's their realm. So they don't feel comfortable making artistic proclamations or things like that. So they feel like they really need your help. And those clients, I think, really appreciate it if you sort of push back and lead a lot. Other clients are the opposite. And for the clients that are the opposite, that are more inclined to give artistic feedback, in the illustrator position, if you're not a director, I do think client is always right is probably the right way to go, especially if you're not a good negotiator. You're probably not getting paid well enough to warrant wasting your energy on arguing with the client. It's different if you've negotiated well, maybe, but it's probably just not worth it, man. Just get the job done, right? Jesus Christ, the rates most people pitch, it's like, dude, you're barely making a living wage. Like, just get it done, holy God. Don't argue with people. However, if you're in a director position, that definitely changes it. I mean, if you're in a director position,
you know, if you're art director or creative director on something, I think you've got to be more comfortable pushing back. The best art directors are very good at pushing back with tact. They have excellent tact, excellent, you know, EQ, just emotional abilities to gauge the client, know when they're ready to get pushed back, know when they're not ready to get pushed back, know how to backdoor it in, know how to make it feel like it's their idea. Inception is very useful in those contexts. The best directors are good at that stuff. But yeah, in those positions, I do think you do need to, if you want to have a good career, you've got to be willing to push back, because you are the professional in that capacity, and you want, even if it's awkward between you and the client, you've got to make a good product for your portfolio, for your CV, and they will appreciate the good product on their end. You know, you don't want to put crap out there at that level. Hi, Stephen. Did you finish the horse drawing? I did not. It's around here in my pile over there. It's down there. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Fluid vert. Yeah, maybe. Is that a real phrase? So I'm sure someone has tried to create a neologism for that kind of thing, right? What camera are you using? This is the GH5, the base model, not the GH5S. Being an introvert is frowned upon too much, in my opinion. I don't know. I feel like on the internet, introverts get a pretty good rap. Do you have a favorite 20th century artist? Probably Sargent. I mean, he counts, right? Autumn Rose says, inking sounds like the thing for me. I specifically want to use those G pens that manga artists use, but I feel like it'd be too much. Those are fun. I've been trying them out a bit recently. Don't be afraid of them. Give them a shot. They're just pens. I actually find the nice ones, like the Kuretaka, the other one, I forget which ones I have here. I think they're Kuretakas. They're very easy to use. They're not tricky or anything. You're gonna have to do the sort of the initial lift on learning how to handle line weight, no matter what kind of pen you use. So, but I find those nibs, yeah, very user friendly. They're very responsive, predictable. Psychology fee, 800 USD, take insurance. People need to hear professional advice. It's like nitroglycerin. It's used right, it's fine. I don't know what based profit is talking about. Was there ever a cap in your pen attitudes? What? I don't know what based profit is talking about at all. If base profit is talking about going to therapy, I think it's a good idea. I think anybody who's got a lot of stuff to deal with, if you can at all get it, get some professional help. Have someone to talk to who doesn't have stakes in your life. It really is it's very different than talking to people who do have sort of a stake in your life, you know? I'm asking, have you hit a point in your life where you was comfortable with your pen attitude? I love that phrasing, pen attitude. Yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable now. I don't worry about much when I draw, man. Not these days. I am very worry-free while I work.
I watched your vid about learning the fundamentals so they can slip into your subconscious. And man, that's where I want to be. You can get there. Everyone can get there. Go for it. If that's the level of freedom and relaxation you want, it is available. You need only practice. And it is a very nice feeling. And a very interesting feeling. There's secrets in that feeling. That's what I think. I hear sparrows, says nobody. Yeah, they're out there. It's actually pretty light on birds out there right now. The feeders are empty. Good night, Ali Shah. Steven, when are you going to draw meat blobs again? Bro, meat blobs are never far away. Brother, meat blobs are never far away. When you are with me in my meat blob kingdom, meat blobs are always near. Sorry, Base Prophet. That last message is very funny. I'm going to get help now. Nice art, LOL. That's just a very funny message. I like that. May all who need help get it. Do you know any spell that I can use so when I flip my drawing it doesn't jump scare me? Just draw better. If therapy, Keith Peterson says, if therapy helps your overall psyche at the expense of blunting your artistic vision process, is therapy worth it? Yeah. Yeah, man. No doubt. Don't trick yourself into thinking that psychological pain is the source of your art or is necessary for art. It is not. That is simply not the case. And even if it was, having a more balanced psyche, a psyche that works better for you, one that is less troubled, less turmoiled, would be more worth it than making more art making better art. You can't take it with you. Uh-oh, Ray. Who's the Ray? Hey, Stephen, do you know any good resources for learning composition? Not like generalized ones, because composition is just, I think composition is not best thought of as an abstract fundamental. It's composition is just what you do with all the other fundamentals. It is just how you design your pictures. So abstract compositional rules really only go so far. They really only apply within a very small view of certain kinds of pictures. So the more important thing to do is figure out what kinds of pictures you're going to make. That's step one. And then you can start learning composition that works for those kinds of pictures. It also makes it very hard to teach in the abstract. There's very few like composition books that don't have like a specific purview, you know? There's there's a lot of books about composition in landscape painting because all landscape painters kind of have to deal with the same problem, you know? So there's Carlson, I forget his first name, but he made a famous composition and landscape painting book. I think it's called Painting the Landscape, and I forget his first name. Probably the most famous one is Edgar Payne's book. I believe that's called Composition of Outdoor Painting, which is a nice little manual and a nice little introduction to abstract composition for landscape painting. But when you read those books, it'll become very clear that it's like all those rules really only apply to landscape. And then as soon as you were to say, how do I compose pictures of cool looking cars? Like half of those rules are going to apply kinda, and then a whole other half of them are like just going to be totally irrelevant now. So yeah, composition doesn't carry over from picture type to picture type. It's about what kinds of pictures you make. Hi, D.
You streaming?
Yep.
Oh,
How you doing?
good.
To my unlearned brain, some composition talk seems on the verge of madness. A lot of imprecise mathematical propositions. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you're not looking at composition within a particular lens of a particular kind of picture, the other way that people try to get at it is they try to generalize it to mathematical systems like golden ratio, rule of thirds, things like that. Those are interesting. They're not for me. You know, that in itself is proof that it's just not going to apply to everyone in the way that they're going to work. I think all of it is all just kind of begging the question. You know, it's all sort of funneling people down. Like I said, I don't know. I think it just makes perfect sense to just realize, all right, oh, that's right. Composition isn't a fundamental. Composition is just all the horses at once, all of the principles of design and elements of art as they're applied to this kind of picture. So it's not really something you learn in the abstract. It is something you learn on the job, and the job needs to be a particular kind of picture. Omega Redtooth says, when working traditionally in a complex piece like this, do you practice certain techniques to warm up for inking or just jump right into the action? Well, I've done a lot of inking in my life. So in my sense, I'm just warmed up from years and years of practicing inking. When I started today on stream, I didn't warm up somewhere else. I just went right in. But if you don't have that kind of experience, yeah, rehearse the technique that you're going to use separately. Actually, I did specifically, I knew for the reflections, I was going to do some finger smudging a lot on this piece. So I did, since you mentioned it, it reminded me, I did practice that finger smudging in a couple pieces beforehand, just to make sure that I had an idea of how it would react on the paper and how quick it would dry and stuff like that. Very quick, for the record. So I was wrong. I did practice it in the abstract, but that was just like on a couple of drawings that I wonder if I have around here. I don't want to go through my palm right now. I did practice it on a couple of drawings in abstract, and then once I knew it was fine, then yeah, I just started diving in with it. How often do you stream? It's pleasant to listen to the stream while drawing. You're drawing while I stream? You're drawing while... Is anyone else doing that? Wall, don't do that. You're supposed to be watching me draw. What the... Come on, cut... Don't do that. Respect me, man. Watch every line that I do. What the hell? What the hell are you doing? Come on, man. Come on. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. I'm happy you're drawing well. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's the usual schedule. And then inevitably something comes up and I miss Thursday, and then I do a makeup either on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Thank you for your work and effort on your channel. My pleasure. I like the framed ink books by Marcos Mateo Mestre. It does help a lot to pick up composition principles for illustration. Those are great books. Those are great books. You know, my composition talk there was definitely like on the broadest level, but yeah, there is, framed ink is great. Framed ink is great. First, you read 20 books on composition, and then you will come to the conclusion that there is only one rule called if it looks good. Yeah. That's about right. Sir, what goes through your mind when picking out where to lay down the darks? I'm fine with understanding how light and shadow works when I'm painting, but my understanding tanks when I try it with ink. It should be the same as when you're drawing and painting. It should be. Investigate that. all I'm really looking for is variety. You know, an area that's a little bit more open, an area that's a little bit more noisy. This area is darker than all of these areas here. You know, just variety. That's the main thing that drives me when doing something like this, at least. And like big black areas like this, I got to hunt for those. I got to purposefully put them in. So big black area, big white area, bigger black, medium black area, fine black areas, bigger white area in this streak. It's all about finding that variety of shapes. It also depends on the mode that you're working in, right? If I was trying to get like a very strong light effect on this scene, which I'm not, right? There's nothing about the way I'm inking this that sort of communicates like strong daylight with really clear light and shadow shapes. It's not really the emphasis of this piece. It's more about the broader abstraction of the variety of black shapes, like I just mentioned. So it really varies depending on sort of what you're going for in the piece. Any suggestions on how to create more interesting 2D character concept art? The more specific, the better. That it doesn't work for everybody. It might not be fun for you, but that seems to be what helps people the most. Have a very specific prompt to work to. Like I said earlier, that's either a character that already exists in a book or something like that, that maybe hasn't been visualized before, or just picking a very unusual inspiration or set of guide rails, you know? That's like the easy way to making an interesting design. I think beginners underestimate how difficult it is to make an interesting character design just abstractly, just from nothing, with no real like guide rail, with no real goal. I think beginners really underestimate how hard that actually is to do, because beginners are mostly looking at masters who, well, the masters are the ones who can do that and have done all of the necessary work and rehearsal and practice and have the life experience to do that. It makes sense for a master to be able to do that. It makes no sense for a beginner to be able to do that. Black Sam says, Steven, God, I love drawing. I'm happy for you. Me too, baby. Me too. It's the best. Keith Peterson says, you mentioned that Sargent was a favorite. I've never seen you paint. Could you explain what it is about his work that you appreciate? Well, he did also do excellent drawings. But I do paint. It's just been a while. Have done a lot of painting. But, you know, the sophisticated nature of his designs, it's like you don't need to be a painter to appreciate that. And if you're trying to incorporate some of that or learn from that, you certainly don't need to be working in color or working with paint to incorporate Sargent's sense of design, not at all. It's all relevant to people who work in black and white, for sure. He was just... you know, probably enough good things have been said about Sargent. I probably don't need to add to that. I mean, he was good at everything, which is rare. Almost nobody has that. And yeah, his design sense is always what I have liked the most. And to me, by my estimates, that's what makes his paintings special. Just not just in the composition, but like the value arrangements, sticking to really rigid value arrangements such that the composition maintains simplicity, even though it's a complete portrait or complete scene, things like that. What brush pen is that? This is a Stadler chisel tip that I'm currently using. What was the last arbitrary art rule you held yourself to? For example, my last was that I made myself only ink with brush. I don't know. I'm sure I'm still holding myself to some, and they're just like flying under the radar. I know they're there. They're always lurking, but you never realize that that's what's happening until you glimpse them and you see, ah, Mara, I see you. In the moment that they are dispelled, that is when you recognize them. As to like the most recent one, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. If it occurs to me, I'll let you know. Stephen, you have to draw yourself in a corner of this picture, mandatory. I do usually put myself in these bigger things. I'm sure I'm in here somewhere. I'm probably on the second page somewhere. Yeah, there's a couple groups of people I might be in. I will get myself in there, don't you worry. Oh, don't you worry. The penumbra was actually the Terminator the whole time? Whoa. Whoa, Steven, this doesn't look like what you usually stream. It's a little different. It's a little different. I don't know, I do ink a lot on stream. I just don't usually do big pieces with ink, right? But I feel like I do ink a lot on stream. Lems G says, hey, I watched your flow meditation video. I loved it and it really helped. I'm very glad. I'm very glad. I'm glad it did its job.
I can still remember writing that one all those years ago. This pen is running out. Sargent's charcoals, oh my god, those are even better than the paintings for me. Dude, Sargent's charcoals are intense, extremely good, very nice. I was always a really big fan of his landscape watercolors. I was obsessed with those for a long time. This piece is looking pretty epic, says JG Art World. At some point, could you zoom in so we can see the details closely? Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. A friendly reminder for Steven to make a comic/graphic novel. Maybe someday, my dear friends. Maybe someday. For your course, if people were to purchase it multiple times, would you give critique on each time that they go through the course? I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I don't think people... I never expected or even thought about people purchasing it more than once or doing it more than once. Let's see if anyone can do it once. It's been about a year now and no one's even halfway there. Actually, some people might be halfway, but certainly nobody has gone all the way through. I think that's because by the time they're halfway through, they've learned so much and gotten so good that they're like, shit, shit, I gotta draw my own stuff. I can't sit here fucking around with all these basic forms. Dude, I'm way too good now. I gotta go draw some cool stuff. And they just get totally carried away doing that. That's probably why. Steven, have you fed the dog yet? No, but I need to walk her before feeding her. Jeez, I'm late for her dog walk. Gonna have to address that soon. Manu says, have the course Spanish subtitles? Not all of it yet, but we're working on it. We're working on it. Several of the early videos do, but not all of them yet. So short answer, no. But it will. It will. Just takes a while. There's a lot of videos. Mateus de Matos Brito says, it's true, it happened to me. Nice.
JB says, you joke, but it's what I did. I'm telling you guys. Nobody can finish the course because they just get too good too fast, dog. Wait, but people are still actively doing the course, right? Even if they're not halfway there? Yeah. Assignments get posted every day. Assignments get posted every day, and I get feedback on all of them. Is your course only digital drawing? No, it's actually it's traditional drawing. All of the demos I do in pencil. I have a few videos in there where I explain if you're doing it digital, here's how to get, here's how to practice those points, and here's how to get the effect. But the main demos, it is for the most part it's secretly a pencil drawing mastery course. I actually almost called it Pencil Drawing Masterclass, but it wasn't. That was sort of what it was in my head when I first started, but then I realized that for calling it that actually opens the door to too many other subsections in a lot of people's minds that I could not cover in one course. How much will the personal critique free course be? I have not quite decided that yet. I will announce that soon. All right, everybody, I am going to start signing off. So if you have any last questions, throw them in the chat. I'll try to lightning round them if they are appropriate for being lightning rounded. My wife is home. I'm gonna go hang out with my wife. Gotta walk my dog, feed my dog. I know everybody's very worried. Has Steven fed his dog? He's gotta feed the pup. It's gonna happen. Goodbye, Mizubi. Don't worry, I'm leaving too. Hey Steven, do you think you will still be offering the feedback version of the course in half a year? I don't have the money yet, but I'm afraid to miss out on the feedback. Yeah, I plan to. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, I think I'll have the feedback available for a long time. I don't think, I mean, life's crazy. I mean, things change in life. Something could happen. I think if I stopped offering feedback, it would be a pause, you know? And if I do that, I would tell people, like, I need to pause on feedback for a reason. And I'll leave a few tickets open. I'll say, like, so I'm gonna pause, but for people who are thinking about it, let's leave, you know, a few left, 10, 20, 30 tickets open for feedback so that people can get it if they know what I want it, and then after that, I'll close it. I mean, life's crazy. You never know what's going to happen.
But right now, I think I would only like close feedback if I needed to do feedback for another course or something like that. So that's a pretty far ways off, you know? For example, if I got principles of design out and I needed to focus on doing the feedback for principles of design, then I'd probably pause the feedback on form from imagination. And by pause, I mean on onboarding new people. Again, for the people who have bought it, it's like, you paid me for the feedback on the assignments, you're getting it. Even if I've paused new tickets being open or new people onboarding, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna give feedback to the people who already got it. Do you like drawing with reed bamboo pens? I don't think I've ever tried one. I do like nib pens in general, though. I do like them in general. Are you familiar with the art of Yu Ming Lee? Every time I look at the work, it blows my mind. I probably would know it if I saw the work, but the name is not jumping out right now. But usually when people say something like that to me and I don't recognize the name, I do know their work. I just don't recognize their name. I lost my place. Where was I? What can a drawer do to improve their rendering finishing skills? I struggle to build a portfolio. Ooh, unfortunately, my answer to that question, Thomas, is my course Form from Imagination, which is very, very long, very, very in-depth. I mean, that's a big ask. The general quick answer I always give, and this is how the course starts, is learn the principles of light. How does light work? You know, on a scientific level. Not, you know, we don't have to get all far out. You know, you don't have to go to the level of the debate of, is it a particle, is it a wave? Both are false impressions. It's a reaction of an electromagnetic field intersecting with like all that. You don't have to go into that. Just, it's a ping pong ball. What does that ping pong ball do, right? How does it bounce? How does it produce diffuse reflection? How does it produce specular reflection? And why does that naturally then produce the modeling factors? Things like the form light, including the specular reflection, the main form light, the halftones, the terminator, the core shadow, the reflected light, the ambient light, the cast shadow. If those terms are alien to you, then you already know where you need to begin, right? Then you already know that there's a very important foundational gap if your goal is to render realistically. So you begin there, and that is the core, and then everything else really is applying it to the kind of work you want to do and twisting it for style and things like that. How do you get a wife? Step 1, fall in love with someone, man. Just fall in love. Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, Sprite versus 7-Up. Always been a Coca-Cola guy, personally. Thank you for the stream. Yes, got to feed the dog. Oh, yeah, you got to feed him. Do you like Drew? No, I already read that. Lack of Sound says, Stephen, how do you render contrast and clarity? Again, same answer as I gave to Thomas, was it? Learn the principles of light. It's a rather in-depth discussion. But the good thing about that is that once you learn the stuff, you know it, and then you don't have to relearn it. And it sort of carries over every time that once you learn it for drawing, you then know it for painting, and all the principles continue to extrapolate out from there for color and things like that. Stephen, please share one last inspiration thought for this Sunday. Just one more. You know, when you're sitting there at the drawing board, for beginners and early intermediates, just pay attention to how thoughts flow in and out of the mind and their character as they do it. Do your thoughts hijack the mind, or do they not hijack the mind? If they simply come in, occur, and then exit, That's fine, no judgment, nothing. If they're hijacking the mind, get used to recognizing them and recognizing that their energetics are sort of carrying you away. If they're positive thoughts, I actually wouldn't worry about it that much. If they're clearly negative, if they have a negative valence, if they're irrelevant to the work that you're doing, if they're very distracting, I think it's worth it to work with them. Just recognize them. They unravel on their own when you recognize them. Don't judge them. Don't judge yourself for getting distracted by thoughts again. Just, the phrase I like to use is unhand them. Just unhand the thought as soon as you know you're having it, as soon as you recognize it. You do that long enough, it erodes their power. You develop a deeply settled belief that, oh, they're not actually teaching me anything. You know, we have this built-in supposition that we need to hear our thoughts out to learn their content. You don't. You don't need to. The part of you that's hearing the thought and the part of you that's producing the thought are not separate people. You don't need to get a transference of knowledge from the thought. You made the thought. You already know the content. You don't need to hear it word to word played out in the whole string. Just unhand it. Whatever's in there, you already fucking know it. It's not coming from somewhere else. So just unhand it and go back to your work. Over time, this will pacify the mind greatly, and that will make art a happy and enjoyable place. And so you will return to drawing more and more, and so you will get better. And then because you get better and you're more relaxed, it'll help you pacify your mind more. You'll love drawing more. It'll become a virtuous cycle. And before you know it, you can't help but get better. You can't help but get happier. You can't help but get more aligned. And you'll have a refuge from all of the chaos that can arise in the world. I wish this for all of you, truly. I wish for you to have your own magical drawing realm that is all yours, and just have this place that you can return to whenever you need, in which you are imperturbable and peaceful and calm and happy. If you don't believe that's possible, all I can offer you is my personal experience. That is truly the case for me. Drawing is precious to me for that. It was not always like that. It can be built. It can be built. I wish this for all of you. And I wish great happiness, great peace, great tranquility for all of you. I really do. So happy drawing, everybody. Thank you for being here. Unhand those thoughts. Keep your hands on the pencils instead. And I will see you all soon. If we stick to the schedule, I will see you all tomorrow, actually. Goodbye to Candlewick. To Warrington Fieselfee, who says, how many cup noodles should I limit myself to in a week? Woof, 2. 2's the magic number, for sure. So much salt. Stephen, how do you decide if the terminator should be soft or hard? The nature of the light is the first determining factor. Is it a large light source or a small light source? A small light source produces, on a ball, we'll get to that. On a ball, a small light source produces a hard terminator. With a large light source on a ball, it'll produce a soft terminator, or an indiscriminate one. You couldn't actually quite place where the terminator would be, but that is then balanced against how severe is the plane change. Even in a soft light, if a plane change is severe and sudden and has a hard edge, and that aligns with the terminator, it'll be hard. It'll still be hard, you know? So it's a mix of nature of the light source, or size of the light source, really. That's the important question. The size of the light source in respect to the subject, and the plane changes that are occurring in the terminator area. Goodbye, everyone. I couldn't help, I had to answer one more thing about light. Goodbye to Mizubi, goodbye to Dino Blaster, Dino Rediamond Man. I'm sure that made my wife angry. She doesn't need to, I already wake up singing that, so I'm sure she doesn't need to hear it again. She really doesn't need to hear it again. She just doesn't. Definitely walking into a fight now. Definitely walking into a fight. Goodbye to Thomas Sage. Goodbye to Woomfate. Goodbye to Colin Gallagher, Corey Kroom, Knocker, Mohammed, Golizadad, Onier Graphist, Xavier Rodriguez, Kurohije, Mizubi Art, Cassie Norwood, JB. Bean, Doodlin, Burhan, Arslan, Lems G, Sansia, Enrude, Bonsal, Joximus Art, and MF. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. Have a great Sunday, and I will see you all soon.